We're talking about all things Hulk Hogan today, and of course, we're spending a little bit of time talking about his Memphis run first. The program that we were just seeing referenced in that clip that we just aired was going to, of course, wind up with Terry challenging Ron Bass many times for the Southeastern title, and Hogan is going to become, I guess at the time he's still going by Boulder, he's going to become full time through early September, and that's when Terry Funk hooks him up with Barnett. And Barnett is somebody who had used Hogan before as Sterling Golden in advance of his WWE debut. But this early era of Hulk Hogan, I think, is something that a lot of young wrestlers should draw inspiration from, because what we're seeing is the evolution of a guy who's learning his craft. He's going to go by a few different names and a few different looks, and he's a heel there and he's a baby face here. We're a ways away from settling into the red and yellow and the Hulk Hogan shtick that we've all become so familiar with, and has led to all these impersonations and impressions, and I mean, just a pop culture icon. But he didn't start that way, Jeff, did he?
Not at all. Um, hell, Conrad, I'm going to be all over the place on this episode. But one of the things when Vince McMahon just, when he posted, one of the things that I nodded my head at, because it is something that I always heard my old man, if you talk to him long enough, if there was one of those car rides and talking about different people, and when him and Lawler had that relationship, but when you kind of go look back in different things, but I can hear in my dad's voice, and obviously it was pretty cool that I thought Vince put in there, was Hulk's work ethic. That yes, he rose to heights and all those kind of stuff, but man, the Hiro Matsuda story coming out of Tampa in the entertainment business from the music side, the grind, but then Alabama, then Tennessee, and different places, and the Japan that we'll get into, and AWA and all that, and then when the big mega thing break took place, all through kind of his grind for years, he wasn't afraid to roll up his sleeves and go to work. And I think I respect, when you look at Cena in his run, you look at Taker in his run, when you look at different like long-term careers, the kind of the one common thread is they paid their dues, they came up the hard way, probably had more failures than successes early, but kept keeping on and keep it on and keep it on. And I think that is, we're in that era of Hogan, that man, the grind. And like you said, the Hulk Hogan complete character was far, far from defined. But, he learned a little from Idol. We're going to touch on here. I think Lawler's influence on Hogan showed through his entire career.
Yeah, I want to spend a few minutes talking about that, because I actually think that Memphis gets a bad rap. For so long you hear people, and these are talking heads on the internet, and old timers from back in the day when they have a podcast or do an interview, they might say something like, "Oh, that was just that Memphis crap," or whatever the case may be. It was always sort of dismissed. But it's something that was never lost on me, that Hulk Hogan really learned a lot in Memphis. Years later, when Eric Bischoff was trying to figure out how can we compete with the WWF and Vince McMahon, it was actually Hulk Hogan who suggested to Eric, "Hey, you should call Jerry Jarrett." And Jerry Jarrett was actually getting a consulting check at one point in time from both Vince McMahon and Eric Bischoff at the exact same time. So that shows you the high regard that both Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan held for Jerry Jarrett. But one of the things I think that is maybe misunderstood is, forever and ever this example is used. Oh, in the NWA and Jim Crockett Promotions, they like to have the heel champion, and they felt like the money was in the chase. They wanted the baby faces of the world, the Stings and the Magnum TAs. They wanted them to chase the title. They felt like the quote unquote money was in the chase. Now, if you took a look at the WWF, it's often regarded, and it's even spoke about, as being a babyface territory. Well, I think everybody knows the story. Bruno Sammartino was certainly the big baby face there. And then after him, of course, famously, it was Hulk Hogan. But I think the way Hulk Hogan was booked in the WWF, boy, it sure does feel an awful lot like the way Jerry Lawler was presented in Memphis. You had this superhero baby face, and then almost like a heel factory. That's the phrase that's often being used to describe the list of opponents that Hulk Hogan faced in the WWF. But that heel factory mentality, man, that was born out of the Monday night at the Mid South Coliseum, Jerry Lawler versus the world, was it not, Jeff?
And that was the thing that again, um, I've reflected over that over the last couple of days. Kind of the true booking philosophy of Jerry Jarrett and how the Lawler, and there is that sense of emotional attachment. And it's been floating around on online where the Rock Hogan match, and when Rock covered Hogan and he did the kick out and did that shaking his head and starting to hulk up, like the amount of times Jerry Lawler did that is because he did it 5, 6, 7 nights a week in the territory for years and years and years. But kind of it's commonly referred to as the Hulk Up. If you're a Memphis fan and kind of know the history, it was Lawler's staple, is that Lawler would go out and create an instant story, and that's something that I try to carry to this day, but immediately establish the story of the match and work the match. And then depending upon how good Lawler's opponent was, and I say that, how experienced or whatever it may be, the story could go 3 or 4 minutes, 7 or 8 minutes, 10 or 12 minutes, sometimes, a Dundee match, 20 or 25 minutes, but then boom, you truly do the heat spot. And once the heat spot goes, like Lawler had an uncanny ability. Look, if he's working with a green guy, he went right for heat, because Lawler could make anybody's punches or kicks, or if they just had one thing they could do well in their repertoire, you went right to heat, and you sold and you sold and you sold and you sold. Lawler was a master at selling by staying alive. If there's any one thing Lawler taught me as a babyface, it was that art, being able to stay alive and not die, but continue to get the sympathy. And you're really just getting your heel opponent over to an enormous magnitude. But once there was some life shown in Lawler, and sometimes it would be a facial response, sometimes it would be just a clenched fist, sometimes it would be a stronger kick out than a 1-2 barely kick out. It's all in body chemistry, in body emotion, and all that kind of stuff. But once Lawler would start to, gather his Superman strength, and what Lawler's calling card was get up, and it wasn't an instant no sell. It was a little bit less sell and a little bit less sell and a little bit, really build it and really build it. And sometimes he'd have the heel ground him again and they'd go back down. But once Lawler built it up and the people rumbled, Lawler pulled the strap down, and then it was ass kicking time. And when you look at the formative years of Hogan, he translated that in so many ways that he started to rumble, and it would go from a deep sell to a little bit, just gradually doing that comeback. And a lot of times Hogan would take all the punches and then he would block it and point, and the whole arena knew, all right, here comes ass kicking time. And when you kind of compare the comebacks and you see it on the Hogan stage over and over and over and over and over, you go, okay, there is just an enormous lineage of Hogan's comeback that came from Lawler. And I think that is, I think it's really cool, but B, I think it's the art of the ultimate babyface, is that you always give them hope. And that's, we're going to get into promo style. I'm sure you'll go down that path here. But as far as Hogan's work style, it is really the art in his formative years. And then when he got rolling through the heel factory, just how good he made his opponents look. Of course, that's by design, because then you're beating somebody.
Don't we all love summer vacation, relaxing, laying out by the pool, barbecues, hitting the beach, doing, well, nothing? Well, how about a summer vacation from your house payments? With SaveWithConrad.com, you can do just that. Reduce your monthly payments by making the equity you built up in your home work for you. You can roll together those high interest rate credit cards into one lower monthly payment and perhaps access some of that newfound equity to turn your house into your dream home with no money out of pocket. And how about this? You get to skip your next 2 house payments. That's right. You won't have to make your June or your July house payment. You're done until August 1st. Go right now to SaveWithConrad.com. Let my team run the numbers for you for free. There's no obligation, and if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. And did I mention we're offering a 3-year guarantee right now? That's right. That means if at any point interest rates improve over the next 3 years, you get a free refi. That's right. No new lender fees from us. So you get to save money now without wasting money later when the rates improve on a whole second set of closing costs. Why not go to SaveWithConrad.com and get a guarantee? Save money now and save money later with your friend in the mortgage business. That's me, Conrad Thompson at SaveWithConrad.com. Shoot me an email at Conrad@SaveWithConrad.com. Give us a call at 888-425-0105. Or get yourself a quick quote, even talk to a live person right now at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender. Let's take a summer vacation from house payments at SaveWithConrad.com.